Hello, guys. Green Knight here, and welcome to the VASSAL Fantasy League. Yay! This is a new concept for organized play in 2022. It builds on the experiences we have from some custom formats in 2021 and takes it a few steps further. Um Basically, I am, and you are, splitting the base game from the custom stuff. We have two separate tracks. We have the standard track, which will use only standard rules, standard points, whatever they are at any given time. We could have sort of tweaks like the Midsummer Madness, and we could have team tournaments, escalation tournaments, but it will use standard rules. So all the experimental stuff goes into the fantasy league. So throughout the year, we have these two completely separate tracks. So you can be in just the standard track or in just in the fantasy track, or you could be a part of both. There aren't so many games to be played that you couldn't participate in both if you wanted to. Now, I think I have some good news on top of that. I think I managed to tweak my sound settings so that my voice isn't as crackling and shitty as it used to be. I got a little bit of help from the internet with some sound settings, and I really think it helped. In other good news, we have just one game left in the escalation tournament and team escalation tournament. It's the fourth round has dragged out because 600-point games, lots of stuff going on, and also the VASSAL World Cup. But as far as I know, the last game is being played today, which is also the last game of the Grand Championship 2021. After which I can tally the points and we can declare a Grand Champion of VASSAL 2021. So that's pretty cool. So I'll make an announcement about that in a day or two, I think. But now you're wondering, what exactly is the Fantasy League? And well, as you can probably tell from this is the front page of the rules reference. So there is an entire rules reference. So let's look at the rules first. And once we've done the rules, we can have a quick look at new and changed game pieces for this first phase of the Fantasy League. But more about that later. So did this mad guy just write an entire new rules reference? No, I didn't. I've been playing with sort of rules for as long as I can remember, not just Armada, but any game system I touch, I have to sort of dissect the rules. It's part of the fun for me. But here I have just taken a program that's ripped apart the PDF and transferred it into a Word document, and then I have grabbed bits and pieces of the X-Wing 2.0 rules reference and sort of integrated that. But after that, beyond that, I've made numerous minor edits. So, do you really need to read this entire rules reference? No, absolutely not. You need to read this first page. All the rest is optional, or you could use it more like you would a normal rules reference. You reference it during play to check out stuff, because all the important parts covered here. We have some golden rules. This is the nothing groundbreaking here. It basically says the same as the default golden rules, but we have one more here. If everything else fails, use common sense. If that fails, roll a die. If that fails, it's blasters or lightsabers at dawn. And you can bring a second for that, of course. card interpretation, not so different, but there is sort of one big difference here, and that is unless there is the may word, card effects are not optional, they are mandatory and must be resolved. Think about how jamming field caused quite stir we when read strictly. It implied that you could switch them on and off at will because it was not mandatory. But now every card is mandatory unless otherwise specified. So this allows for more consistent wording. So I've highlighted stuff in different colors here. The green is new stuff that I've added. Blue is stuff that basically Karnak has written on the AMG forum that I've grabbed from there and put into the document at the relevant places. Red is green. Red is the new green, but used to highlight the important stuff. Yeah. Purple is just used to highlight sections that have changed name or maybe been split or otherwise reorganized. Okay. So let's look through these points. These are the important points. Like I said, there are several minor changes as well that could be worth noting, but we'll just focus on these ones. Otherwise, this video will get too long. So, may. Everything is mandatory unless otherwise specified. There's now something called an ability queue. Ability queue. If you're familiar with X-Wing, you know what the ability queue is. It doesn't change the way abilities resolve their effects, but it helps clarify and streamline how they are resolved, in what order, and that sort of thing. So don't fret. Everything basically works the same, but it has a better internal consistency, better logic. Fleet size has been increased to 450 points. More is more fun, of course, but also because I want to enhance the combined arms aspect of the game. Squadron aces are still limited to 4, but you can now fit 150 points of squadrons, and that gives you the potential to bring an even more powerful squadron component while still having the ships needed to sort of run that. And I honestly feel that at 450 points, you have a little bit of extra room to actually bring a powerful fleet of warships and also have anything from 50 to 150 points of squadrons. I'm not saying you can't run squadless, but I think that squadless will be somewhat disadvantaged. This is a combined arms game, and that's what I'm focusing on. So everything I do, all the rules that I change, all the bits and pieces that gets altered, I have that in the back of my mind or in my forehead. Depends on how you look at it. So 450 it is. I think the crown example here is building a fleet for Sato. It can definitely be done. I've seen some really good Sato fleets at 400, but at 450, you have that little bit of extra wiggle room where you have the ships that you need to actually use Sato's effect, and you have room to take the squads you need to trigger this effect. That was just one simple example, but I think 450 is a very good spot. That is, of course, my subjective opinion, but I decide everything here, so I can just decide that 450 is the best points total. So the first, you could, by the way, there are some designer notes or my notes at the very end of this document where you can read a bit more about my thinking behind everything. But first, the next big thing here, initiative is randomly determined. I mean, paper, scissors, flip a coin, use dice, whatever, but there is no bid. Well, you can have a bid, but it is just wasted. And this seems like a huge change, and in many ways it is. But I think we should embrace the fact that every fleet should be able to go first and second, or second against a variety of opponents. I think that is key to perhaps getting rid of some of the more problematic fleet archetype that sort of has this one trick that they do, and they bid heavily to either go first or second or have the choice. Again, my subjective opinion. But now you can focus on the fleet building. You can use your full allotment of points, and you can design your fleets to have the capability to have a powerful strike as first player, be able to flip the second player's objectives, and also have a suit of objectives that are good for you. I don't think it takes away anything. I think it gives more to the fleet building aspect of the game than it takes away. So I think it is a great change. But more importantly, we get to try it out now. This is related to the other point. The first player does not receive fewer pass tokens. Okay, so if I have 4 ships and Akbar has 5, and the second player, I don't have to fly into him and eat 2 shots. I only have to eat the shots from his last ship. So this is connected. Initiative is randomly determined, yes, but second player is already not stronger necessarily than first player, but it is definitely not weaker either. So there is no room to sort of take away a pass token from the first player, unless the second player loses a ship early or wastes his pass tokens. There is no way for the first player to get passed first. But now the chances of first player gaining that advantage is increased a little bit. And I think that with the prevalence of long-range red-eye fleets, stay away fleets of various kinds, I think it is pretty clear that those fleets that need to lever activation advantage to get in close, to set up forks, to punish the opponent with blue and also black dice, they are at disadvantage at the moment. So this could be one small piece in the puzzle that sort of restores a bit of balance in the force. Unintended, not so fun, really. Another big one, re-rolling. Each die can only be re-rolled once in each phase, and the rules specify that in the modify die phase, it's only the attacker that gets to do stuff unless otherwise specified. And also in the defense token step, it's only the defender unless specified otherwise. This is basically taken from X-Wing, and it's to limit sort of fishing for that perfect pile that just wipes out one enemy ship before it can do anything useful. We don't need that. It's not what makes the game great. What makes the game great, in my opinion, is shepherding your limited resources. You only have so many activations, only have so much damage potential, you only have so many defense tokens, only so many shields, only so many hulls. The game shouldn't be about trying to radically shift the balance of power with just one clever activation that piles everything up into that one activation, and then you have a huge advantage, and then it snowballs from here. No, it's about setting up your chess pieces. Armada is a very chess-like game in many ways because it has inertia, not the squadrons, but the ships. They can only move along limited paths. and because of the shoot then move mechanic, you have to plan ahead and set up those forks. So by by saying only one reroll, it also opens up a lot of design space, because you know that if you hand out some extra dice through an effect or multiple effects, you can be sure that those dice, yeah, they can be rerolled once each, but they cannot be rolled 2 or 3 times to create preposterous results. That gives me space to sort of power up some other upgrades, which we will see more of in the next phase. More about that later. Next big thing, accuracies and defense tokens. Okay, so if you have a ready defense token and it gets targeted by an accuracy icon, you can say, I'm discarding this token to resolve the defense effect. You can basically discard for effect. And this is basically a gate on every ship, every defense token, and also every squadron, because it's not just the ships, it's also the squadrons. And of course, this would make Sloan even more powerful, but Sloan isn't in the game, and you don't know how Sloan will work when she does appear. So relax, it's all been taken care of. And Agate definitely doesn't work the same in this fantasy league as she used to. So again, don't worry about that yet. Now, this hugely increases the defensibility of ships. Your stupid victory won without to SM will not leave the table, its brace never having been spent. At worst, it will get to discard that brace once and reduce 1 blast. As you know, there are ways around, well, Agate. First of all, you only get to discard once, which is very great. I mean, Raiders, for example, any ship with brace or any other defense token is, of course, a great security here and great increased defensibility. But on the other hand, it's like having intel officers on every shot too. By discarding the defense tokens, they are going away really fast. Yes, they are doing good, but they are also gone. And did I mention generic squadrons? Masses of generic squadrons. What are they good for? They are good for overloading defense token. This doesn't help at all if 5 Y-wings bomb you. So you might want to think combined arms again. Some defense tokens have changed. Yeah, basically, Contain has been given a. I'm arguing in that it's a huge boost. Contain can be discarded now, spent to cancel a critical icon. So you can get rid of a red or blue crit or a black hit crit. This is of course very nice. If the ship in question is smaller than the defender, you can discard it, evade style to cancel another die. So the ISD could kill 2 hit crits from that pesky raider, for example. But then it's gone. And why the need to sort of boost contain like this? It's because we have use all the other defense tokens are very useful. Contain is mostly a joke that's used to replace with either NIDA or local fire control or that sort of thing. So this makes it much more interesting to have, and it will of course improve the survivability of hammerheads, architects, that sort of thing. Actually, the architects may be a little bit too defensible with its evade to redirects and the contain. So it is being reviewed by our review board. So it's be in danger of losing that 4th defense token. For the time being, it has that 4th token. So Squadrons, there are more squadrons with evades now, but more importantly, squadrons always cancel a die when evading, and they can discard their evade to kill another die. But you can read about the details. These are the little things. Salvo can be used against ignition attacks, but there are no ignition attacks at start, so not that important. Another big thing is face-up damage. It now takes 3 engineering points to flip it face down, not to discard it, just to flip it face down. But we have other ways of getting rid of face down cards, so it sort of evens out. And ships have also gained a bit of staying power, so it's only fair that it gets balanced. It also means that the standard crit is actually a bit more useful, since getting rid of the crit is more costly. Some obstacles have changed. I could mention dust fields, but they aren't in the game at the moment, so there are no big changes that are relevant at the moment. The core obstacles, the debris, the asteroids, and the station work the same. Well, 99% the same. You cannot heal more than once on the station per activation, for example, but those are minor things. Some cards are limited, and especially this is Squadrons, but also some upgrades that have 2 or 3 dots, so they are not unique, but you can only take that many of them in the fleet. Scoring has changed. It's not just huge ships that give half points now. Everything gives half points now. So a TIE Interceptor that's taking 2 damage gives the opponent 6 points. DR90 would also give half points if taken down to 2 hull. So it's the hull damage or hit points of squadrons that matter, not shields. Some keywords, squadron keywords, have changed. I mentioned escort and heavy here, but I think grit needs to be mentioned as well. Escort doesn't prevent you from shooting at other squadrons, but it gives other non-escorts dodge. Read the details under the squadron keyword entry. Heavy is almost the same, but there is another sentence there where if the attacker is non-heavy, it gets to reroll 1 die if the defender is heavy. So escort could offset this. So heavy squadrons really want escort now. Yeah, absolutely want escort. Otherwise, they tend to get slaughtered. Grit. Grit is mostly the same, but it flat out ignores any heavy squadron. So 1 heavy and 1 normal squad does not lock down a grit squad. So you need 2 non-heavy squads to lock down a grit squad. Yeah. Ships can't, any ship, not just huge ship, can't deploy overlapping obstacles. Unless otherwise specified. There are some other minor, but maybe not that important changes. Sort of engineering is resolved before squadron now, just because it gives a more structured ship activation. The defender can only spend a defense token once per attack. So if you assume that Sloane works the way she works now in vanilla, she could flip a defense token and then the defender could immediately spend it. That's not possible under the current rules, but here it would be. There are several such small changes. So you can see here the green stuff about abilities and ability queue. Yes, if you want, you can read it, but it's the red that is the important. For example, allied is defined, but it's not that important. And I also have integrated under armament dimensions, special battery armament, that sort of thing. And here is a bit about in red. And here you have an example of blue text taken from the AMG forum, attacking stations. All that station stuff is under stations now. That's in purple. Yeah, that sort of thing. Evade, contain. And here is a bit about gaining more defense tokens. You can only have 6 defense tokens maximum, and you can never have more than 2 of any one type. So if you put agate on a double brace ship, good luck finding those, by the way, and they are non-existent. But in theory, so let's see, say a double evade ship, you could put agate on a double evade ship, but you couldn't give it a third evade. And more die modifications are clearly defined. You can only exhaust exhaustible cards. Yeah, lots of little things like that. And here is dust fields. They don't block attacks. They halve the attack pool. A little bit of stuff like that. Here is repair first, then squadron, then attack, then maneuver. Several keywords have changed, but I mean, assault and cloak, they aren't in the game at start, and you can see that dodge will actually work on flak as well. So lots of interesting things. And strategic has been toned down a little bit, and we have a new keyword called precise, which is mostly used by Thai advanced, but some other squadrons have it as well. Wedge comes to mind. Yeah. There is errata in case we during play need to fix a card or something that I could have overlooked stuff. I don't have a huge design team. I have me. So although I think about these things a lot, I think we can say that sometimes my mind doesn't account for absolutely every interaction. So FAQ, I just listed some maybe hard to understand interactions with new cards and the design notes. So how do you join this thing? Well, would love to have you. That's the first thing. Several players are very keen on this, but I'm unsure how many want to join. I'm hoping for 10 guys. If I get more than 10, I'm going to be extremely happy. If I get less than 10, definitely still going through with it, but then there will be less variety in your opponents. So everything happens on VASSAL, of course, because that's the only place where you can find the components. I have prepared a mod version of the module that contains all the custom stuff. You can download. You find the link on Discord. I'll put it up on my blog as well. Then you have to go to tabletop.to and you have to join the fantasy league here. Links will be provided, and then you hit the sign up button here, and then you've signed up. And then you don't actually have to submit a list, that you just sign up. And on the 28th, we start playing, and we will play for about 6 to 8 weeks. The first phase or the first wave, I'll call it phase. But yeah, the first phase will last probably until the closing days of April. And during this time, this is a league, so it's not Swiss. You can play anyone. So you will play at least 4 games. I would recommend you playing 6 games, and then you can choose, or I will choose for you your 4 best scoring games. So if you go 10-1, 10-1, 9-2, 8-3, 4-7, 1-10, you can disregard it. Your 2 bad results, and you only get the good results. And then I think that to encourage play, if you want to continue playing beyond those games, then you can get an extra point for every game. There's one tournament point for every extra game played and logged. But after the first 6 games, you can't just play until you have those 4 10-1s. It's the first 6 games that count. After that, you only score 1 tournament point per extra game. So if you are really, really keen, you could scrape together some extra points, but not that many points. That's the basic concept. And after this period of 2 months, I have already prepared phase 2, which is a new wave. And the new wave includes both Clone Wars factions and large ships. And some new upgrades, of course. Beyond that, I don't want to say too much, but all 4 factions will be on an even footing in phase 2. And phase 2 will not introduce any new objectives, so I will just use the core objectives also in phase 2. For phase 3, which comes after that, every faction gets more ships, more squadrons, there will be more upgrades, and we will add the Corellian conflict objectives. So I would say that after the summer, sometime in August maybe, when phase 3 starts, environment will be very rich. Every faction will get some new stuff. The Clone Wars factions more new stuff than the Civil War factions, because the Civil War factions are more fleshed out already. But even the Empire and the Rebels get some new ships. Someone gets the Dreadnought, a Lancer, frigate could appear, and no, it's not going to have 4 anti-squadron dice. Going to have a niche. For the Clone Wars factions, we will see more Venator variants. We will see the stealth ship. We will see new squadron versions. We also see rogues and villains for Clone Wars. Dooku, Ventress will appear. All sorts of goodness. I think it's going to be very interesting indeed. And for each new phase, you can play the same 4 to 6 or more games, and you score based on that. And there are new scoring opportunities for every phase of the fantasy league, and whoever wins or gets the most places well will get more points towards the grand championship, because this track, the fantasy track, does also give points for the grand championship. That's an incentive for playing, I guess. So more information this is a YouTube video. More information is coming on Discord and my blog, and I will sort of unify all the information as we approach the 28th. So stay tuned. Yeah, there will be one more video separate from this when we look at all the different cards that are in phase 1, just to make sure there are no misunderstandings. Okay, see you.